Hey YouTube, it finally happened. KV331 has released SynthMaster One, the full thing, on iOS. I'm obviously hyped for this because it's a big release, but also because, oh my god, I've been teased for this thing for 3 years. 3 years ago they released SynthMaster Player, which was just a preset player, but this is the full desktop version of SynthMaster, now available on iOS, and I am very pleased. This is a massive wavetable synth that's got just like all kinds of great stuff to explore, so let's explore it. I'm gonna dive right into it. I've got a little ARP loaded up here, so hopefully it will not be boring when I hold this down and start tweaking things. So right now we're just doing kind of a basic, lower that a bit, just doing a basic saw or whatever. And we've got our usual stuff here where we can turn on a filter, filter it, give it a little bit of resonance. And we can say, you know, use the mod envelope to affect that filter. So that's the basic sort of synthesis that we're used to with subtractive synthesis, but now we've got a whole bunch of wavetables to go exploring. So there's waveforms, and then there's wavetables, and you can also even do audio input, but there's layers of different types of wavetables available to us. There's some analog ones like the Moog Slim Fatty and the MS-20. We'll start off with that one because it's fun to play with. And now each of these, like even the regular waveforms, can be tweaked now across 3 different dimensions. We've got the index, where we can select where we want to start our sampling at. We've got tone, make it lighter or darker. Then we got a phase that is usually more noticeable than that. Do you notice how things are changing? Like, let me set these back to default. Now, the index is just flat, but if I bring up the tone and the phase, now this is got all kinds of different peaks and valleys to it. So everything you change on one is going to affect all the others. So you've got to do a lot of experimentation to go back and forth to try to find exactly the sort of tone you're looking for. But I'm looking for something that's kind of gritty and smooth at the same time, because I'm going to now unison it. I don't want it to be too crazy before I unison it. So let's throw in 8 voices and bring down the volume before that blows up. Now I'm going to detune that and spread it out with the width. I thought I had my... I just realized, while I'm busy explaining things, I didn't actually have my ARP set up correctly. Shit. Alright, that sounds better. Now we're ARPing. Alright, so let me boost that a bit more with the drive here. So like that right there is the basics of what we can do with this. Now I want to get into some more advanced features in here, where we can say change the algorithm you're using for how you're synthesizing this waveform. So right now it's on spectrum low pass, so it's taking the spectrum and just giving us the lower notes. But we could say high, and you hear how that immediately changes things. Pay attention to the waveform. Shit, I can't show you my finger taps anymore. pay attention to the little waveform there. As I switch now to high, you see how it's actually changing what we're getting out of this. And there's a lot of different things that you can do. You need to be in routing in order to see the changes here, but pay attention to the waveform thing up in the top left. You can actually see the changes there too. And there's also some effects, and I think I'd like to add some reverb to this. That's a bit too much though. Actually, let me tweak the timing, bring down the damping. Now we've also got a sub that I can bring in. Right now it's off. Let me bring down the main oscillator so you can hear the sub, which you can barely hear. But let's change that now to a square. You can also do all the waveforms and stuff like that. I'm just going to use a square here for this though. And bring in the main oscillator. Alright, we can screw around with the phase and all kinds of other things, but I want to show you some more stuff, so let's call oscillator 1 done for now. We can turn that off now and bring in oscillator 2. And it's got its own sub. Let's throw in an entirely different wavetable here. I like these vandalism ones. I think this is the one that I like. It's got a lot of interesting stuff going on in it. And let's now also make that unison and detune it. Yeah, let's try a different waveform. Let's hit another one at random here. Let's try adding more voices to this, see what that sounds like. Alright, that is pretty good. I'm looking for kind of a smooth sound, but a big sound. So that hopefully when I turn on to oscillator 1, it's going to sound good together. Okay, oscillator 1 is a little loud. It's the sub. So we've got like a really big sound there going on now, with all these detuned oscillators all over the place, and we're using one sub, and right now it's just on a regular low pass filter. You can boost this, but I'm worried about blowing out your ears, so I'm going to stop doing that because I'm already driving it. I like the distortion from drive. So, although it is like a really vastly complex synth, I hope that this video has shown that you can just jump right in and start playing with it. It's open to a lot of experimentation. You are going to run into some areas where you're just like not hearing it anymore because you've screwed up, and like I do this all the time, so don't worry about that. Oh god. Like sometimes you'll tweak it and you'll be like, well, why did I lose all the sound? Well, that's because where you tweaked it down to, the waveform just went totally flat. So if you run into that problem, just find a more interesting place to leave the waveform. And crisis averted. It's back to sounding big and full and lush. I hope you've enjoyed this video. Thank you very much to all my Patreon patrons for making these videos possible. Take it easy, folks.